All right, we're filming,
We're
guys.
crooked. We're like way crooked. Yeah.
Dog.
You want me to intro? And I'll be the dog holder? Okay, so I wish he could intro.
We're doing 6.
Yes.
Okay.
5. Look interested. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey friends, welcome back to Bible Fun with the Duns. Today we read Song of Solomon chapter 6. Some of us read 7 and then had to go back and read 6.
True.
But we read 6.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So remember how we talked about that in this book, it's really formatted more like a poem, like a love poem, but it's also formatted almost like a series of one-act plays. Okay, this is where that comes in. So they've dated and they've gotten engaged, they've gotten married, they've started their marriage together. And now we start off in chapter number 6 and there's this question. In verse number 1, it's just a question. And the question is, hey, do you know where your husband is? Which I think is a legitimate question. And so all the ladies,
I'm tracking him.
I've got her GPS on her phone right now. All right. So where is your beloved gone, O fairest among women? Where is your beloved turned aside that we may seek him with you? So they said, do you know where he's at right now? And she says, yes. So in verse number 2, my beloved has gone to his garden, to the bed of spices, to feed the flock in the gardens and to gather lilies. Okay, so she says, yes, I know exactly where to find him. And so when we're reading through this, what we're finding is that not only have they started building a life together, but they've developed trust together. So she knows that he's out and he's working. Solomon was he was a gardener, he was a shepherd, he was a king. If you go to 1st and 2nd Kings, when it's talking about Solomon, it's going to tell us like all the hobbies Solomon had as the king and all the ways that he was wise. Be sweet. And all the ways that he was wise and all the things that he did. She says, I know exactly where to find him today. And so then she says, verse number 3, which is, again, the central piece of this whole book. It says, I am my beloved and my beloved is mine. So what she says that in her mind, she says, he may be at work and I may be at the house. He's doing this stuff, I'm doing this stuff. She said, but right now in our marriage, we are bound together. I belong to him, he belongs to me. And now we get hints of Genesis 2:24, a man shall leave his father and his mother, and the two shall be united, they shall be one. Well, that one flesh, even when they're apart, they're still bound together. But notice that, like, when you listen to this, she doesn't start out with, he belongs to me and I belong to him. No. She said, I am my beloved's. And he is mine. And so it starts out, we notice the phrasing that the relationship starts where in order to build trust and to build this life together, she said, I give myself away first. And then and then he's mine. So in a relationship, imagine the beauty, the harmony of one who says, I'm going to put you ahead of me always. And if one party says, I'm going to put you ahead of me, and the other party says, well, I'm going to put you ahead of me, now we've got a mutually kind of sacrificial relationship. I am my beloved's, and then she is mine. That kind of situation. The rest of this chapter is a really sweet chapter. So he calls her, oh, my love, when it starts out. And then he spends the rest of this chapter describing her. He'll do this about 3 times in the book, okay? So in this one, he says, oh, my love, you are as beautiful. And then he starts listing a bunch of things. So what he's saying, he's giving affectionate compliments. Now, I'll tell you this. I think that the reason Solomon does this is because this is how his wife responds. So we read a book years ago. It was called The Love Languages. I don't remember.
The 5 love languages.
Yeah, the 5 love languages. So it was like quality time, gifts, and
acts
then
of service.
What are they? Affirmation.
Words of affirmation.
Quality time, physical touch, gifts. And something
Acts of service.
Okay, so whatever they are, we probably butchered that.
I promise we read it.
Okay, yeah, we did read it. It was a long time ago.
Mine's
but we read
gifts,
it.
so
You know,
that's what's important.
that's right. I read through this, I really do think hers are words of affirmation.
Okay.
Because that's how he keeps talking about their relationship. He keeps telling her what he loves about her. And now, listen, yes, it is poetic, and yes, it is weird. I can tell you how far it would get me if I looked at Jenny and told her hair looked like a flock of goat's
He
hair,
does stuff
which I
like
have told her that, and or like her teeth look like sheep coming up
You're
out
not,
of the
you're not
water.
even missing one.
Yeah, you're not even missing a single sheep tooth, you know. But really, listen to what he's really saying. Behind the imagery, he's saying that she has strong, overpowering beauty, okay? Awesome as an army with banners. He gets lost in her eyes. Turn your eyes away from me because they have overcome me. He talks about her long, flowing, shiny hair, her bright, beautiful smile. He talks about like a piece of pomegranate or your temples behind your bow. He's talking about like the blush on her. He's talking about her complexion. He says he says a lot of other things too. But what's happening here? He says my dove, my perfect one. This is the only one. So these are, he's saying, listen, there are 1,000 fish in the sea, but she's the only one for him. He's overwhelmed and infatuated with her. The kind of the takeaways for this, I think, for Christian people, for married Christian people, is certainly we want to have God above everybody else in our life, even our spouse. But after that, the spouse is the primary relationship above children, above church, above everything. The spouse under Christ comes next. Why? Because it represents Christ and his love for his church, his bride, to the rest of the world. The other part of that is that to know the Lord and to have a loving, committed marriage are like the two great treasures of life. And so Tom Gledhill said this. He talked about how she reacted hearing all of this. Happy is the girl who receives so much extravagant praise. I like that. I also like how, remember in earlier chapters, she described herself like almost homely looking. She wasn't super confident. Dwayne Garrett said, in a Cinderella motif, this is a woman who was very ordinary, but now is extraordinary in her beauty and breathtaking to behold, to her spouse first and then to everyone else. And I like this, when she talks about him, she says, my soul has, she says, before I was even aware, my soul has made me as the chariots of noble people, okay? What do chariots do? They carry you around, right? They just take you away. You know what she's saying? If we were put in our modern language, he swept her off her feet. That's what that means. What's interesting then is like in verse 13, he says, return, return, O Shulamite, return, return, that we may look upon you. So when the Bible talks about the Shulamite, that word Shulamite, like we've used that all throughout the story to describe her, but this is really the kind of the primary place where you find it in the story. If you look at it in Hebrew, Shulamite is the feminine form of Solomon. So it's talking about, this is the Song of Solomon, but she's the feminine side. They are two sides of the same coin. Why? Because both have left father and mother and been joined together to their spouse, and they're one flesh. Now they're two sides of just one coin. And so we got this chapter unfolding where he is he's cultivating, or they are cultivating, a good marriage by actively like praising each other. Just being complimentary, which I think is nice. All right, the next chapter is a little more graphic. We'll get there tomorrow. All right, see you then. Bye.
Bye.